I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Hey everyone, and welcome to August's TBR Assemble. If you don't know what TBR Assemble is, I'll leave a link up above to my original video, but it's essentially my Avengers-based TBR game, and this month I need to fit all of my prompts also into the magical Readathon prompts. So let's get into the roles and exactly what I'm reading. So today we're using two avatars. I've got a She-Hulk and also a Hulk because it is the month of She-Hulk. So let's start going. I'm going to be using these interchangeably between each role. So we were on 45 last time. Let's get on with role number 1, which is a 2. So that goes over there to the sci-fi section. Let's see what this is going to give me. This one, which is Kate Bishop. Let the arrow decide. Oh, that's going to be fun. So this prompt is one that I've been looking forward to for a while, and that is let the arrow decide. And I do mean that quite literally, because I got this archery set last year, I think it was now. It was cheap in Aldi, and I love archery, and I wanted to include it in this. And I'm so glad I finally got this up, because this means that each of these numbers on this target represents a different book. I then fire bows and arrows with suckers on, so I don't, you know, injure anything or break any ornaments or this door here, essentially, and whatever I land on is the book I need to read. So this month's options are, if I land on 2, I have to read one of the books in my Doctor Who collection. If I land on 4, I've got to read Just One Damn Thing After Another by Jodie Taylor, which is another time-traveling thing that my mum has told me that I need to read desperately, because she keeps on shouting at me to read it by this point, and I still haven't done it yet. If I land on 6, it is the Murderbot Diaries, the second one in the series. Can't remember what that's called at the moment. 8 is the Darkness Outside of Us, which is the Avengers Reading Challenge group book. I am aiming for 8 because I need that one. And then if I get a bullseye, free choice, because if I hit a bullseye, that's pretty damn good. So yeah, let's fire this. And oh, also before I forget, if I land on blue around this outside, it just means go again, because I'm useless, essentially. So I've only got 3 arrows. I'm allowed to use as many arrows as I want until I hit the damn thing, so let's fire the arrow. I'm so excited. I haven't done this at all. I have not played with this whatsoever yet. I'm so excited to do it, so I'm gonna fire an arrow. Okay, so that has actually hit in between the 8 and the 10, so I'm going to count that as 8 because it's mostly in the 8 at the moment, which means it is The Darkness Outside of Us, which is incredibly useful because that is the group book for the Avengers Reading Challenge, so that is my book. So as you saw in that clip, Kate Bishop, Let the Arrow Decide was my first prompt, and I just want to do that every single month now because that was too much fun. But anyway, so what it chose was The Darkness Between Us. This is the Avengers Reading Challenge group book, and all I really know is that this is about 2 people on a spaceship, and I think they're trying to save a planet or something. I've got no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I just know that it's the Avengers Reading Challenge group, and that means I can also use it for the Incantations Echo prompt, which is to take a book from somebody else's TBR, and I'm going to be taking this off basically anybody who's doing the Avengers Reading Challenge and reading the group book, and also doing, obviously, the magical readathon. Roll number 2 is a 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is fantasy. So go this one here, Yelena, a book about siblings. My second prompt was Yelena, which is to read a book about siblings, so I'm going for The Midnight Twins. This book is about twins who get pulled into a dream mirror of our world, and then they're having to like battle nightmares and things like this that are getting really hard to try and deal with, while something is trying to sort of influence people's dreams and things like this. And first of all, this sounds really good. I've heard really good things about it, and also I think it's perfect as well. I've just realised for August, because the Sandman is coming out in August, as in the TV adaptation, which is all about dream, nightmares, and all of that kind of thing as well. So quite thematic. I didn't realise that was going to happen, but I'm very happy to have that sort of thing in there and have that kind of theming, so I'll probably be reading this around the time Sandman comes out, which is very exciting. Either way, very excited to read this one, and it's also counting as well for the prompt of Demonology Imp Wrangling, which is to read a fantasy, and obviously this is a fantasy. Roll number 3 is a 3, so 1, 2, 3, that's another fantasy. A little bit more this way, and that is Magneto, a morally grey character. My next prompt was Magneto, which is to read a morally grey character, so I'm going to go for Sandman Volume 2. This is obviously, like I was mentioning before, all about the Sandman Morpheus, and I looked this up on TV Tropes, and it literally said morality kitchen sink, as in basically everybody is completely morally grey, or amoral I should say, and things like this, so it definitely counts. This is also a graphic novel I should mention, and I am so excited to reread this one. It is a reread, but I'm so excited to reread it in time for the Sandman TV show, and this actually doesn't have any sort of magical readathon prompt for it. I'm just reading this for fun and to cover this prompt as well. Roll number 4 is a 2, so 1, 2. On to comics, which is really good because I need some comics in this, so I'm going to go a little bit inside this comp here, and that is I Love You 3000, reread an old favourite. My next prompt was I Love You 3000 to reread an old favourite, so this is where Sandman Volume 1 comes in. I'm going to be rereading the first 2 or 3 in the Sandman series. Wherever the first volume of the audiobook runs out, essentially, is what I'm going to be reading, because I think it's about the same amount of comics adapted in the audiobook as it is to the TV show, and what I'm going to do is reread the comics while listening to the audiobook at the same time and work it around that way, essentially. Like I said as well, I'm going to be doing a full explanation for Sandman later on, and this is also covering for the Conjuration prompt Raise the Dead, which is to reread a favourite. So I am doubling up on the prompts. I saw the opportunity and I took it. Roll number 5 is a 2. So over there, that's another sci-fi. So I'm going to go inside this bit here, and that is On Your Left of the left-hand bookcase. My next prompt was On Your Left, which is to read a sci-fi book from the left-hand bookcase. So what I've gone for is Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers. This is technically the 4th book in the Wayfarer series, but it's the 3rd novel. The last one was a novella. A bit confusing, but essentially this is a series of sci-fi companion novels. I really enjoy the other ones. I will say that The Galaxy and the Ground Within was not my favourite. That was the novella, but I'm really excited to continue this series, if a little bit wary because this is the 2nd to last book. But either way, it's still very, very excited to read this one, and it's also counting for the restoration object restoration prompt as well, because I'm counting the tiny human on the cover, the single object on the cover. That may be cheating, I don't care, I'm going for it. And then the final roll is a 1. So 1 that is yellow, that is Own Voices. Go in the middle here, and that is Athena, a book I keep on forgetting about. And then my final prompt was Athena, which is an Own Voices book I keep on forgetting about, so I have gone for Phoenix First Must Burn. This is a short story collection filled with black girl magic, resistance and hope, and I do keep on forgetting about this one. It is admittedly on my second half of the year priority TBR, but I had to put it on there, otherwise I kept on forgetting it was around, so that's why I'm picking it. And this also actually doesn't have any sort of magical readathon prompt. I just really wanted to read this one at last. And obviously that is not the end, because I have several other prompts that I need to get through for the magical readathon. So the first one is Conjuration Necromancy themes, and for that I'm going for Sabriel. This is going to be a second attempt at reading for me, because I did try reading this back in like 2017, 2018 and couldn't quite get into it, but I think, to be honest, that was just the mood I was in, so I'm going to give it a second chance now and try to read it now. I can't remember exactly what it's about, but I know there are necromancy themes in there, and this is a pretty hyped book. And it was actually the only necromancy book on my shelves that I haven't read yet, so if you've got any other recommendations, please leave them down below, because I clearly need more necromancy books in my life. I then also needed the prompt of Tales, the Bones tale, which is Bones on the cover, which was shockingly difficult as well, because I forgot I owned the bone spindle to start with, which was ridiculous of me. And then I usually use Skullduckary Pleasant for these prompts, and I'm like, I'm not starting that series all over again. I've just read it and I need to read other things and get the TBR down. So I had a bit of a hunt, and then I found this, which is Planet Hulk. And as you can see right there are bones on the cover, and this is basically where the idea of Gladiator Hulk came from, as in the little figure I was using to move around the board, and also what we see in Thor Ragnarok. And this is essentially a giant planet of Hulks. That's all I really know. I'm really excited to read this one. I've heard nothing but good things. The artwork is really good in here as well, and seeing as She-Hulk is coming out, well, it had to happen, essentially. It had to happen. Then speaking of Hulks, the next prompt I had was Recolor, which is to do the colour wheel and have it pick a colour for you, and luckily it gave me green. I was so happy when it came out with green, because that means I can now read all of my She-Hulk collection and add it to the list and count it towards the magical readathon, because obviously She-Hulk is coming out this month. I'm ridiculously excited to watch She-Hulk. I'm so excited. The trailers look amazing. I love Bruce Banner. I am sure I'm going to love Jennifer as well, and I already love Tatiana Maslany as an actress, so very excited for this. She-Hulk is essentially Bruce Banner's cousin, and when she ends up in a car accident, he has to donate blood to her so she can survive, and it turns her into essentially a Hulk. And she is green all the time. She can change back again, but she doesn't get like massive like the Hulk. She does grow a little bit. She has all the strength and everything else, but she is also a lawyer, and she's a lawyer for superheroes essentially. Every time I've seen her in anything, I've really enjoyed her, so I'm very excited to finally read some of her solo stuff as well, and also count it for the magical readathon, because like I said, there is a lot of green on these covers because she is green. And then my final magical readathon bit was the animal studies, which is to read a book with an animal familiar or an animal companion, and this one stumped me for ages. And I was trying to figure out any book I own that has an animal companion, and I'm not kidding, it took me forever until I suddenly remembered that I Am Groot is coming out in August. Rocket is also going to be in it, which means I can now read Rocket and Groot by Scotty Young. And Rocket is a raccoon, and also an animal companion to Groot. So I'm counting Rocket as Groot's animal companion, and I'm counting it for this prompt. I know that is probably stretching it a little bit, but I am counting it. There is nothing in the rules to say that I can't use this, so I am going for it. So Rocket and Groot is going to be read for the animal companion prompt. No regrets, not even sorry. And also slightly ashamed that it took me this long to figure that out. And then also speaking of Groot, I'm also going to be going through some of my Groot comics as well, because obviously if I Am Groot is coming out, it's probably time I read my Groot comics as well, because it's a Groot solo show, so I may as well read his solo works as well. I've now said Groot too many times, it doesn't sound like a word anymore, but I will be reading those for absolutely no prompts whatsoever, just for my own enjoyment. And then finally, if I get time, depending on if he turns up, and this is slight spoilers for the trailers for She-Hulk, so if you don't want to know anything, I'll put a timestamp here so you can just skip past this bit. I will give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 if you're still here. I'm guessing you don't care about spoilers or you have seen the trailer, but I may also add some Daredevil in to the She-Hulk stuff, because he may be in the show. I'm still not convinced. I still think it could be Bullseye, but if it's Matt, I will be reading some Daredevil. I don't know which ones yet. I will literally figure that out when I get there, but it's tentatively on the list. I obviously don't know if he's going to show up in August or in September or whenever. I just know that it's probably him or Bullseye. They're leading us to believe it's Matt Murdock, but either way, I'm tentatively putting on some Daredevil. Also, if I can find anything, some Wong-centric comics, because Wong is also going to be in She-Hulk. And then if anybody else turns up as well, I'll then just be adding them in as well. I have heard rumours that we may be seeing a few other people as well, but we'll see. Either way, these are like the tentative things. It's going to depend on when they show up, so it's not on my main TBR list. This is just sort of like the optional bit. Okay, spoilers over, and that is actually the end of this TBR. It is massive. It doesn't look too bad when I stack all of the books together, but when you include the amount of comics I need to read and also everything else, it starts being a little bit more like last month's, which was massive. But we'll see what happens. I'm hoping I can speed through the Midnight Twins and Record of a Spaceborne Few, and then read A Phoenix First Must Burn in like drips and drabs, stuff like this, like I did with Vampires Never Get Old, but we'll see. Either way, very excited, very fandom based, and it feels doable, and I only need to read 134 pages a day to get through it, so that's reasonably doable. So yeah, pretty happy with that. And that is the end of my TBR, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me which books you really need to get to this month, or if you have any necromancy prompts for me, please leave them down below. I would love to check out more necromancy books, or if you don't have that much time, leave me a green related emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media for to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which is going to have a ton of stuff on Groot, She-Hulk, Hulk, those spoilery people I've just mentioned, as well as to the Sandman as well, which isn't Marvel, but I'm counting it for the month because Sandman. And also I'm leaving a link as well down below to my Etsy and Redbubble store, which is a bookish merch if you are interested in that, or if you just want to see how well I do on this TBR, what I think about Sandman, all the rest of it, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!